What's up, Canes fans? This is the Canes Insight Daily Podcast powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. There he is. There's Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. We are live. It is Sunday, June 1st. Huge visit weekend for the Miami Hurricanes. I was there in the hotel where they do the visits. I stopped by this morning, so I got a chance to connect with some people, talk to some recruits, interview some recruits, ask some questions, and we're getting those stories up on CanesInSight. I believe the interview with Tristen Keys already up on there, some of the defensive linemen as well. So go check out CanesInsight.com for free. 7 million posts and counting, #1 source for Hurricane news, and get those stories. But in general, man, a lot going on with the recruiting class. I'll talk about some of the folks, I talked to on that monster recruiting weekend, as you can see down there. And just some of my general impressions, things I'm hearing. First, some folks that, are always going to be monsters for you and your case and for their opponents. That is Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. Chat's already going crazy here. No sleep for D-Money going daily on the weekends too, man. The news is popping. These weekend shows do great. A lot of people, I guess, it's hardworking people, man, out here. Can't watch a show all the time during the day. So weekends, they're free. So, we got to make sure we take care of everybody here. Appreciate you, Heart of Sports. Let's get it. Been waiting all day. Where you been? I told you, man, I was out there and I was in Coconut Grove, right, in the Ritz-Carlton, checking out, some of the early returns here on the visit. So before I get into it, some quick disclaimers on this whole deal. In terms of like the team side of things, meaning like what is the team telling me about the visits, about the impressions, everything else, the strategy, I usually give that about a day. You usually see me drop the bank after a big weekend like this. The bank, for those who don't know, who are joining us for the first time, that's my, long kind of wrap up, probably not probably the most direct information on the Canes anywhere on the planet. You guys who read it, you're the best informed Canes fans on the planet when you check that out. I usually drop that maybe like late Monday, early Tuesday, because I like to let the dust settle a little bit, let the coaches meet, talk about what they like. Because sometimes, a kid might have loved his visit, and then you talk to people inside, they're like, yeah, this kid was goofing off. We didn't like anything we saw from him. He was smaller than we expected. We're not going after him. So you got to kind of get the whole side from the coaches and everybody else afterwards. So I'll get that report with the bank probably later on tomorrow once I get that information. But I was there and I was able to talk to a lot of these kids in person. Didn't talk to everybody, but I spoke to, Tristan Keys, Samarian Wingo, Watkins, the big safety / linebacker from the Carolinas, Chauncey Kennan, the defensive back, Lafayette, the defensive end from Orlando. Cannon Portis was out there. Just trying to think of people I spoke to. Keyshawn Stansel, Daniel Norman, defensive end from Fort Lauderdale. Messiah Hampton, wide receiver from Rochester, New York. So there were a lot of guys out there. Of course, Tristan Keys being the headliner of that crew. So, my impressions here based on what I saw and heard. Again, a lot of these interviews, these guys just finished their visit. They're with their families. They're getting to catch a flight. So you're not necessarily getting the most candor always. So I look for just little kind of impressions. And I can tell you, this is my impression. I have not, talked to the coaches yet. So this is my view. Talking to Tristan Keys, man, he lights up talking about Miami. I mentioned in the bank that I think Miami is a major player for Tristan Keys. Got to kind of see how it turns out. And again, I'll debrief later with the full picture, but certainly from what I can gather, and I talked to a few people around the situation with Tristan Keys in particular, I think Miami is in an excellent spot. This is my personal opinion. I think he's a fit here. You talk about Hattiesburg, Mississippi. People are going to say, oh, that's SEC. Forget about it. We'd never get receivers like this, even if they're from South Florida. How are you going to get one from SEC country? I think there is a personality fit between the player and the program. He is he just has that kind of Miami personality. He likes to be under the lights, not in a way that's conceited or shallow. He just has that star quality to him, and I think he sees that and senses that. Football-wise, one thing that we have sold Keys on that we have not been able to sell to other players because it wasn't true was we had the number one offense in the country last year. So Tristan Keys is very much aware, and he said it multiple times. Miami had the number one offense in the country last year. Why couldn't I fit in if they had the number one offense in the country? So that is a real thing. You know, Tristan Keys is an Adidas athlete, signed with Adidas. Miami's, of course, an Adidas school. There were people in his camp wearing Adidas stuff yesterday, walking around. So that's that part of the fit. But I just think overall this is a fit. Now, does that mean he's coming? This is a elite recruitment. This is very similar to Jackson Cantwell. I feel right now with Keys how I felt about Cantwell maybe a month ago. And that ended up working out for Miami, but there were twists and turns along the way. There's big time recruiting. Sometimes they turn the other way. So I don't know the answer, but I have a very good feeling from the Keys side of the equation. Having talked to him, that he said people are sleeping on me with Miami and my recruitment, and it wasn't a troll. He basically said, LSU knows it's a business, and I got to see other schools, and they do the same thing. So it wasn't like he was too worried about that aspect of it. He said Alabama and Tennessee are probably the other schools along with LSU and Miami. But I sense a lot of love from Keys with Miami, the city. Ray Joseph was his visitor, a host who I heard he also hosted Messiah Hampton. He seemed to have done a great job. Ray, really personable, smart guy, local guy also. So I think everything I could see from the Keys side is that the visit went extremely well. Appreciate you, Birdstone. Yeah, like and subscribe to the show. We got 620 on right now. Appreciate you, Birdstone. Always supporting us here in the comments. So, yeah, I see a fit with Keys. Again, I think talking to people, he likes Miami and he likes the situation with the offense. There's a lot of things lining up there. It's going to come down to, there's big time recruiting. So you got to, there's money involved. There's other teams involved. There's incredible pressure from everybody. So we got to let the process work itself out. But I saw a very, very happy Tristan Keys and talking to people around his camp, very happy camp there in the Ritz-Carlton. It's like the Ply song. What's that song? The Ritz-Carlton. Ran off on the plug twice. Anyways, I digress. So that was a good one. Another guy that I thought had a lot of just genuine good feeling for Miami that I talked to, Keyshawn Stansel, the defensive tackle from, let me pull up his film now because I think this is a good one to pull up here. Keyshawn Stansel, the defensive tackle from Raleigh area, Clayton. This guy's a shot putter. He is obviously a football player, a productive football player. He's a 4-star on both the 247 and the composite. Number 20 defensive lineman overall in the composite, top 10 player in North Carolina, 6'3", 270. That sounds about right to me. I think that would, he didn't look huge, didn't look small, looked like just a nice quick 3 technique with room to gain weight. Got Tennessee on the itinerary, Penn State on the itinerary, Clemson, and then North Carolina. So these are schools that are known for producing good defensive linemen, good evaluations, NFL type talents. When we talk about, Penn State, it's a defensive player factory. We know what Clemson does in the Carolinas with defensive tackles. We know about Tennessee. They probably had the best defensive line in the country last year, and then NC State, always a good evaluating school. So, Stansel's a guy that I really wanted to highlight because he visited here unofficially. We visited him there. There's a lot of connections between Miami and Keyshawn Stansel. He plays a position where you absolutely need dudes, right? You can't nickel and dime your way to good defensive tackle play. You can't smoke and mirrors your way to good defensive tackle play. You need guys with the quickness and the size. So to me, I think that's where Keyshawn Stansel fits in. Barco saying, shout out to Belen, Jesuit product, Dorian Gonzalez, certified baller, grand slam, 2 home runs yesterday, showing why you can't pitch around Daniel Cuvée. We're going to talk Canes baseball here in a second. I should have said that up top with Sebastian Font. Obviously, one Belen player, or maybe 2 Tagoti plays, but plays for a regional championship here tonight, potentially against either Southern Miss or Columbia. Winning, they're in. The regional champs, first time in almost a decade, if they can take out whoever wins the game between Southern Miss and Columbia today. If they can't get it done tonight, then they get another chance tomorrow. But obviously, you want to get it done tonight here with a fresh set of arms. Griffin Hugas, huge, complete game. We'll talk about the game in detail once we get through some of this recruiting stuff. So Lord Bacon asking about Derek Cooper. He had a great visit. I didn't interview him in particular, but talking to people and just reading what he said to some of the other folks that were there, Miami presented basically that they're going to use him like a Swiss Army knife. Tavon Austin was the comp, which is funny because Cooper weighs about 210 pounds, 6'1". He's a lot bigger than Tavon Austin, but just being that overall weapon for Coach Dawson. Dawson just really wants to. I think Dawson was with Tavon Austin at West Virginia, or Tavon Austin. I'm sorry. So he knows how to use guys like that. So I think that was a selling point that Dawson, who looked to be in great spirits when I saw him, would use Derek Cooper as like a Swiss Army knife. Derek Cooper, a incredibly high priority, best player in South Florida. Miami does not want to lose players like that. I reported on the bank going into the weekend. I thought Miami was the favorite. I'll find out here after, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's still the case. So let's take a quick look at Stencil here because, again, when you talk to this kid, he was all smiles, basically saying, it was kind of hard not to commit, not to put words in his mouth, but I mean, he looked absolutely over the moon about the Miami Hurricanes. He was there with his mom. And look at the quickness here of Stansel. I heard this guy's a great kid. He seemed like it when I interviewed him, but I heard the character on this guy is really, really good, which you don't always know with this particular position. And then you see the highlights. He's got burst. He's definitely 6'2", 6'3". He's not a short kid at all. I think he's not like, I don't think he's an instant impact frame. He's someone that probably could use a year or two in the weight room to just muscle up. But long term, he has the twitch you want. He has the demeanor you want, and he's productive. Coming from an area that produces a lot of really, really good defensive linemen up there in the Carolinas. That is a very, very good defensive line area traditionally. And you see this guy, I mean, he looks like a defensive end. You look at the motor to chase down. But he'll definitely be able to get into defensive tackle size. I'd say probably 6'3", 270, I think is probably a pretty accurate measurement. But look at you just can't coach that kind of twitch. And he finishes. He's got a feel for where the ball is. Some of these defensive tackles, you see they fly up like a bull in a china shop, but they can't find the football. There's a guy, you see him find the football there, fighting off the double team, getting it done. Could have been a pick six potentially there. So really liked what talking to him and hearing, some of the things he said about Miami. Smile from ear to ear. It was his first visit. And he was basically like, look, man, I don't know how you're going to top this. This was unbelievable. Everybody loved the city of Miami. They all went on the boat. It was just an incredible time for these 17, I believe, official visitors. But Keyshawn Stansel, who we're watching here, I think was one of the most effusive, I would say, in his praise as far as the Miami Hurricanes. Oh, I had the comment up. Sorry if I was blocking. But there you go. You see him doing his thing. So he was one that really liked Miami. Messiah Hampton was very impressive talking to him as a wide receiver from Rochester, New York. He said basically, look, he visited Miami, loved it. He's going to make a decision very, very soon. He's kind of honing in on a decision at this moment. He said, or honing or homing in. Someone corrected me in the comments. It says homing in, not honing in. Whatever it is. He's getting close to a decision, Messiah Hampton, on whether he wants to be a Miami Hurricane. He's going to visit Oregon on a midweek visit. So that's a midweek visit that he's going to take to Oregon, which is long considered the favorite. And then what I would say is probably the favorite, Syracuse. He'll be visiting them. But a lot of love for the Miami Hurricanes. He said, basically last time he was here, he got the feeling like I want to be here. And you got that feeling again, his words. So that's always a good thing to hear. Look at Stance. Look at the athleticism. So that's a live recruitment right there. By the way, look at Stance. Look at this guy. Oh, Mawson. There we go. Great athlete. But back to Messiah Hampton. Let's pull up his film now while we're talking about him. I was impressed with the way this guy carried himself. Ray was also his host. I believe all the receivers are kind of hanging out with each other. Yet Samarian Wingo was also in that mix, hanging out with people. I think it's a Florida-Miami battle. But Hampton, man, he's listed at like 6'1", 180, 190. I think that's actually pretty close to accurate. I know he's a speed demon. We watched the film here. He doesn't play the best competition in Rochester, New York, but he is a very, very physically impressive guy for that type of player. He's not like Andre Johnson size or anything like that, but for a guy that's known for his speed and quickness, he definitely looks to me pretty college ready. And he carried himself with a lot of maturity. So I was impressed with the interview with Messiah Hampton. And there you see him. There you go. Last 53 seconds, all blocking effort. Uh, this is a dude who, yeah, I think Oregon gets guys like this. They got Decorium Moore last year. So I think that tells you what they like. Look at the balance that this guy has. I mean, look at this, man. Look at the leg strength this guy has. He looked the part, man, and he acted again like a total pro. They all have their different personalities. Uh, Wingo's more, reserved. Was very good, seemed like a good kid. Florida kind of guy. Tristan Keys, more of your star type personality, very effervescent. And this guy was all business, Messiah Hampton. And you see him on the field, man. He is a dynamic playmaker. Syracuse is going to pay a lot of money to try to keep this guy, is my guess, just because he's local and he's so good that they can't afford to not get a guy like this from Rochester. But he visited Miami unofficially, and he likes Miami, and Miami loves him. And he said himself, he goes, I got the feeling on the visit like I want to be here. And that was the same feeling I had the last time that I was here. So, where does this guy stack up with the other wide receivers on Miami's board? You got Vance Spafford still very much strongly in the mix. You got Tristen Keys, Calvin Russell, Jason Lopez, a lot of really, really good receivers. That, we talked about Wingo. I think it's a Florida-Miami battle, who liked his visit. Just a lot of talented kids on campus. It was, we barely talked about Messiah Hampton, but when you watch these highlights, this is clearly a man amongst boys at that New York level. And I think seeing his size in person, it could definitely translate to here. Who else visited that I want to get to? Talk to Chauncey Kennan. He plays his cards pretty close to the vest. That seems like a in-state battle, I would say. Brody Jennings, I did not interview. I didn't see him. He obviously dealing with the tragedy of his father passing away suddenly from a heart attack. Former Florida State Seminole Bradley Jennings, a really talented linebacker for the Florida State Seminoles. Just a tragedy for him to pass so suddenly, right when he's watching his son live out his dreams. His other son, Bradley Jennings, played for Miami. His daughter runs track in Miami. So just, again, a really terrible situation there, but shows you how much interest Brody Jennings has in Miami, that days after his father passed away suddenly, he visited Miami. He went through this official. No one forced him to do it. He just wanted to do it. And he's committed to Michigan. I'll pull that film up now, the cornerback from Jacksonville. But all indications with Jennings are that I think Miami's in a very, very good spot in that recruitment. Again, I haven't talked to anybody coming out of this visit, but heading into the visits, I know that everybody loved Brody Jennings. He was one of the top guys on the board. And the fact that he visited coming off of something like this, I don't think it's a stretch to say that he remains a top priority. But let's pull up the film to see why Miami is so high on this Jacksonville product. Again, committed to Michigan, but that Michigan commitment seems very flimsy right now. I can see this being a player that joins our class sooner than later. Miami thinks that he is a big-time man-to-man corner. There you see him there. Comes from a good program up in Jacksonville. But you see, he is a true man-to-man corner. Look at him flip his hips, go the other direction, find the football. They think this guy can play right away. I'm getting kind of a seizure alert on his clips. I don't know if you guys are having the same issue I am. I got to talk to Jacksonville, all the people who put this together, but ball skills, tough. Like I said, the word I heard on him was man-to-man ability. Here you see him blitzing, making a nice tackle. He comes from a family of linebackers, so he's physical. Here he is, top of the screen, just running with receiver man coverage, nice and easy. So this is, you talk about the corner class. Samari Matthews, who visited from Carolinas, is an elite target. He enjoyed his visit. Jalen Waters, who's committed, top of the board type player. Jontavius Wyman, they love his athleticism. Camden Portis was there, looked like he's gained some height, still a little slim. Nickelback with some ability. Clinton Portis' son. Clinton Portis is out there at the visit as well. But Brody Jennings, I think, fits right in to this corner class as a top priority, and a guy that would have Miami doing cartwheels if he decides to flip from Michigan, which I am beginning to think is increasingly likely. You see this film, you see why Miami is so high on Brody Jennings. Bryce threw off. I asked him what's my take on Turner. This is Zachary Turner, for the tight end, kind of the H-back tight end from Duncanville. He left before I could talk to him, but I heard he really liked his visit. It's a Miami SMU battle, but Miami made a strong move. he feels wanted at Miami, which he is very wanted. And they're able to sell, hey, we have guys like you that are not 6'5" tight ends like Elijah Lofton. We know how to use them. We'll use you the same way. So similar to Messiah Hampton, great visit, great feeling, but the local school is always going to be tough because they need him, these guys. They can't be losing players they really, really want to Miami that are in their backyard. So they're going to try extra hard to get him. Heart of Sports saying Brody's a heavy lean, a flip. He said Miami's going to be hard to beat from any school. That's certainly the impression that I got from just talking to people. I didn't talk to him directly but everybody around him, that was the vibe. Who else did we talk to here? Just again, Derek Cooper. I think we didn't talk to him. We get the impression that he really liked that approach that Miami's taken to treat him almost like an offensive weapon as opposed to a pure running back. The Watkins. So let's take a look at this guy right here. So Miami is very hard after linebackers in this class, guys with versatility and length and the ability to do different things. Tamarian Watkins, low 4-star rated recruit, but I think he's better than that, from Rock Hill, South Carolina, which those of you don't know, that area, that's basically like the border of Charlotte, where Camden Portis is from, and some other guys, and it's in South Carolina. So even though it's South Carolina, it's really almost like North Carolina. We talk about a guy like Watkins, Tamarian Watkins, but the South Carolina schools are very much in his top group. South Carolina, Clemson. He's very much looking at both those guys, but had a great visit to Miami. He told me that Miami wants him at linebacker. He doesn't gain weight. They're very comfortable with him playing safety. Just seeing him in person, he's built like a James Williams. And look, James Williams has started linebackers his rookie year in the NFL. Started at linebackers his rookie year in the NFL. So he has that ability to play linebacker clearly. We'll see if Watkins is cut from the same cloth, but certainly just looking at him, they have a similar look to him. And Miami really, really likes this guy. They like his athleticism. They like his versatility. They like his football IQ. And I'm sure Clemson's selling hard. They can get the Isaiah Simmons kind of talent out of him. There, you look at that range. Yeah, he has some safety ability. They look at him cut inside. But Miami's selling him basically, just come on campus. We'll find a spot for you. I got a pretty good impression from him, but I didn't, not like Stan. Stansel, I thought, was another Carolina kid. He was ready to move in. Whereas with this kid, I think he was much more, hey, great visit. Let's see where this recruiting process goes. It's kind of early for him because he did an unofficial visit like some of the other kids. So a guy like Tristen Keys has been here 3 times already. With Watkins, not necessarily. But let's get any questions. We got questions here. There's Chris Grotto. I live about 10 minutes from Rockville. South Point and Northwestern always produce NFL talent. You got to get the word on this kid. See what's going on. Question from Coach Jinko. Sorry if you mentioned it, but do we have any big wide receivers and DBs on campus? Yeah, had a few. Number 1 receiver in the country on campus, Tristan Keys. I mentioned earlier in the show, I think Miami's got a really, really, really good shot at him if they can close that deal, similar to Cantwell. Really loves the fact that we're the number 1 offense, loves the city of Miami, loves the way he's being recruited. Samarian Wingo from St. Augustine near Jacksonville, up there in the northeast of Florida. Had a great visit, I think, Miami and Florida. Messiah Hampton, very mature, physically impressive kid. I think Miami, Syracuse, and Oregon. He's from Rochester, New York, but he said, look, I got the feeling like I want to be here, which is the same feeling I had last time. So that was a pretty telling quote from Messiah Hampton, and we'll see. TJ Pro, what will be the dream receiver class? Everybody's got a different one, right? I love Jason Lopez. I'd love to see him in any class that we put together. So everybody's a little different. If you're asking me personally, Jason Lopez as your big slot, Vance Spafford as your speedy slot. They're really different players, even though they're both slot maybe guys. I don't think they're slot only guys. Tristan Keys and Calvin Russell, probably. But Messiah Hampton was pretty impressive. I gotta do some more research on him. There's Randall. Correct phrase is homing in. It means to move towards a target with increasing accuracy. Honing in is a misusage, likely influenced by the term hone, which means to sharpen or refine. Thank you, Randall, from Google. Improving my language skills here. So a tight end recruit in the last few years feels like we haven't had a legit high-end guy. Looking at Lofton more as a hybrid guy. I mean, I look at Lofton as, I think he was the highest rated freshman tight end in the country. Some national account just said he was the breakout tight end to watch. I would agree with that. We'll see. Brock Shaw was a highly rated guy. Luka Garrett was a 4-star. We'll see how those guys turn out. But I think Hezzy Kent, Izzy Briggs, the top 10 tight end out of Visalia, California, there near the Sierra Nevada. And Zachary Turner, your H-back tight. Those are the three names to watch. With Zachary Turner visiting this weekend, having a good one. Jonathan Crumbly asked about Anthony Tank Jones from Mobile, Alabama. He also left early, but he likes Miami, man. Miami-Auburn battle. And usually when those out-of-state guys kind of get a little quiet, I look at that as a positive because that means they don't necessarily want to rabble up the people back home. That's my impression. I don't want to assume too much, but I've seen that play out where that's why guys like that will get quiet. Last I heard, mine was right in the mix with Tank Jones, Miami, and Auburn. Got about 1,283 people on. Remember to like and subscribe to the show. We got to talk baseball, man. And to do that, we got Sebastian Fine. Sebastian, what's going on, man?
What's up, D? How's everybody doing? Happy Sunday to everybody. And Canes are in a championship game later today. It's great.
So listen, we're going to talk the Canes baseball, but might as well talk recruiting with you too, because you were the one that had to type up all these stories I sent you, when I recorded them. What was your view on when, and you couldn't see his face, it was just the audio, but Tristan Keys, how'd that one sound to you when you were writing it up?
Yeah, when it comes to Tristan Keys, I mean, he really likes Miami, right? He keeps talking about it. I mean, I'm right here in his hometown in Hattiesburg, right?
That's right.
He talks about getting out of trying to get out of there, he likes Miami, the culture, and I think there's a real shot at Miami there.
Yeah, I got the same feeling, man. I just think it's a fit. I mean, look, again, you didn't see, you just heard, but hearing him talk, and then also I know you saw what we did with him in the studio when me and Pete had him in studio at Casa Cultura where we're doing the Wednesday show. He's very much like, I compare it to Anthony Edwards. He's got that kind of in front of the camera personality more so than just like some of these Southern guys. They're the low key. They like to just kind of fish, hunt, and get out of the way, let their work speak for itself. He to me is much more of a Miami type personality. Do you get that impression?
Yeah, I fully get that impression. I think that also one of the biggest things with that is that he really talks about the relationship that he has with Miami. And it's more about him just as a player, but him as a person. And I think that time and time again, we've seen that with Cristobal and the staff, that they've been able to develop that relationship with the player.
All right, let's get into let me fix that. Let's get into Canes baseball here a little bit because, I'm still learning the recruiting thing or the producing thing, as you can tell. It's not as easy as it looks. Pete makes up for a lot of sins with the production. So shout out to Pete. I know he's moving his lovely girlfriend into a new place. So shout out to Pete while he watches his second division Papua New Guinea soccer match later today. There we go. Let's get this here. Let's talk baseball. You're in Hattiesburg. There we go. Canes baseball in the regional final, first time since 2022, right in the regional final. And then they haven't won one since what, 2015, 2016. When was the last time? It's been a while. You were a young fly. How old were you?
It's been a while. It's probably like 8 to 10. It's been a really long time since the Canes have been to Omaha, let alone a super regional, right? And we came into this regional, the 3 seed, a lot of people talking that we really stumbled our way in and whatnot, but you went against an Alabama team that a lot of people felt should be hosting. You jumped on them early, didn't let it go, caught a bit of a break by not having to face Southern Miss in the next round, but you handled your business against Columbia, and now you're in the driver's seat to get out of this regional.
Yep. So, let's just kind of go into the game yesterday because Griffin Hugas, right? Ace of the staff all year. Well, he's had an interesting run, right? Because he was initially the Saturday guy. I think me and you felt before the season, and obviously we loved the other guys as well, but we thought Griffin Hugas probably the most Friday profile based on what we had seen, just with his pitch mix, his ability to miss bats. He ends up starting on Saturdays. Clearly emerges as the top pitcher in the rotation. moves to Fridays, but then Siskar really gets hot down the stretch. Tate Darius also making a big impression. Is it Darius or Darius? I always say it with the Spanish pronunciation. What is it?
I flip flop between the two. I don't really know either.
All right, well, let's call him Big Tate. And, Siskar was so good down the stretch that ultimately you go with Siskar against Alabama. JD makes a bold move. JD made a lot of bold moves with his pitching staff. We can talk about that. But not only putting those two freshmen in the lineup, but then when the freshmen got hot and Siskar particularly finishing strong and Hugus kind of having a few tough starts down the stretch, starts Siskar in that huge game against Alabama, true freshman. That turned out to be the right move. Then he goes Hugus in the second game, which turned out to be against Columbia. That turns out to be the right move, where Hugus goes 9 innings, old school, complete game, 1 run, finishes extremely strong, over 121 pitches, I believe, finishes with the strikeout. So what can you say, number one, about Griffin Hugus, and number two, about the different moves that JD has made with the pitching staff this year, which, I mean, aside from the initial decisions, right, seems like every adjustment, the initial decisions you can question, but every adjustment's been right on the money.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with the moves he made, especially with starting AJ Siskar to begin the regional. That's something that we discussed on the podcast earlier in the week. That's something that I felt that would be the right move, as Alabama really relies on home runs and Siskar really limits them, right? And he did exactly that. And then JD made another great move in the game, bringing in Rob Evans to face a lefty, gets a huge strikeout there. I believe it was in the 8th, I believe. Comes off the field. We have the momentum again, and he managed it perfectly. And then you go with Griffin yesterday. He got hit hard, right? But you still get the outs, but he pushed through like he always does. He's a bulldog on the mound, going 120 pitches. Like, you rarely see that, and goes the complete game because we hit so well that he had that insurance, that leeway to go through. And it's going to be really interesting to see how Tate handles it today. And I think he's a big-time performer in big-time games. We'll see how he steps up as a freshman.
One of the things that was different to me between fall ball and then the camp and then what we saw on the field was really Galvin. So Ogden was always good. He ended up being really good. Cuvée, you knew what he was going to be. Galvin, to me, was what you saw in fall ball and in camp was a true impact upper echelon ACC bat from the left side. He was good during the season, solid, but not what we had seen in that lead up really until this last month. Now, seeing what he's been the last month and now carrying on the biggest moment here in the regional, how important is it for Galvin to play like Max Galvin and to hit the way that he has been hitting the past month?
Yeah, it's really great to see. Obviously, we predicted him as to be one of the top hitters, not only for Miami, but in the ACC, right? And he's got that beautiful swing that really just drives the ball well to both sides of the field. And he started off well, had a bit of struggles, kept getting moved around in the lineup, and I think that didn't do too well for his confidence. Got right back into the lineup, started really hitting well towards the end of the year. Even if the stats didn't show it, he was hitting line drives, he was barreling balls, and he comes into this regional. First pitch against Jamie Quick, a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, takes it deep to right field, gets robbed of it, right? But that set the tone early on, and he's been swinging great the whole regional.
Riley Quick, right? The
Quick,
righty,
yep.
The big righty, yeah, first-round pick for Alabama, who got one of several first-round picks that Miami's gotten in front of here with this lineup. It's interesting. They seem to play better with the better players on the mound.
Yeah, he jumped on him 98. He never saw a fastball for the rest of the day. They were scared of him. And to have him hitting in front of Cuvée, to get runners on, to just do things, set the tone, right? He's a big spark plug guy. It's something that's been really good going into this regional. And if he could get more today, I'd expect him to get one more today.
Talking about hitting in front of Cuvée, we want about hitting behind Cuvée and protecting him in the lineup. I had the tweet yesterday. I know you like that one, Sebastian, letting everybody know where those home runs were coming from, as twice Cuvée gets intentionally walked, which makes sense. He was crushing everything that he saw, has been really the last 2 games, really for the last 2 months, right? But I understand why you intentionally walk Cuvée. I get that decision-making, but man, Dorian Gonzalez took it as disrespect, stepped up, 2 home runs, including a grand slam, both of them enormous, and basically one kind of made the game very hard to to create a good spread, switch the momentum, and then the last one basically put the nail in the coffin. So huge home runs from Dorian Gonzalez, and he's another one to me like Galvin, where what he is doing now is kind of what you expect from him, and it's happening at the right time.
Yeah, putting the shameless Belen promotions aside, right? He hit really well yesterday. He's been one of our best hitters when it comes to runners in scoring position, especially with guys on second and third. I mean, it feels like every time he's up there, he's bringing in runs. And they walked Cuvée the first time, he made them pay. And for a school as smart as Columbia, you think they would have learned from that mistake. And he made them pay the second time. He hit a ball, I think. Dude, that ball might have landed near my car by the church in right field. It was absolutely sent to the moon. So, again, we mentioned it that if you can get a guy behind Cuvée to really start hitting, you see that with both him and we have Derek Williams back from his injury. And even Fabio Peralta towards the bottom of the lineup really starting to put some good bat to ball here. If you can get one or two guys towards the bottom of the lineup that can produce, you really have a rounded out lineup that you can get some insurance for your pitchers to work with.
I should mention, for those who don't know, I mean, you're in a hotel room in Hattiesburg, right? Like you mentioned at the top. What's the environment out there?
Yeah, I mean, I really like their ballpark. It's a really nice. I love how it feels, right? We obviously both games we haven't faced Southern Miss, so you haven't seen their fans really there. But after the Alabama game, they were lined up for what felt like forever outside that stadium, right? It's a ballpark where the ball flies with the wind. I personally like the feel of it. It feels almost like a minor league ballpark, and it's going to be interesting with the atmosphere depending on who comes out of that game today between Columbia and Southern Miss. Because to give Columbia some credit, they had a small group over there, but they were pretty rowdy, and I respect them for that. But Southern Miss, that place is going to be packed today.
How's the Miami fan base out there?
Yellow. It's pretty strong. There's a good group of us there. And you have a lot of other Canes baseball fans that are starting to make that trip from the South. They're driving. They're starting to come through, and it's been really fun. It's been a great atmosphere. Obviously, I've been posting the final outs from each of the games, and you could see how excited the fan base is. Especially shout out to Jake Ogden's dad. He loved that one at the end of the Alabama game.
My man Mike. Yeah, I remember he was having fun with the CanesInSight message boards. 7.4 million posts and counting for CanesInSight. Sign up for free if you haven't done it already. That's a no-brainer. But he was having fun before the season because the boards were questioning whether Ogden could play shortstop. So every time that Ogden makes like one of these Sports Center top 10 plays, he looks at me. He's like, I can't play shortstop, right? Can't play shortstop. So people read those boards, man. We're the biggest Canes community on the planet. So if you're not signed up for CanesInSight, our baseball board is just as popping as any other board, whether it's football, recruiting, we got basketball. There's really no Canes community that fits. So Sebastian, I know you got to bounce and plan your last out here that you recorded, but what is your just final thoughts heading into tonight, where this team's at and what you're looking for? I know we don't know the opponent yet.
So no matter what, we got to keep the momentum going. We really need to get that lead first. That's been the theme of the season, right? You get this team gets the lead first, they really rally well with that. But if they don't get the lead first, a lot of the times they do fall flat. So no matter the opponent today, you're in the driver's seat. You just need one win. Get it done today. Don't let either team have any life, whether that's Columbia or Southern Miss, just get it done. And I think that if you're facing Columbia, you see with these Ivy League teams, they really struggle when it comes to that third and fourth game in a series. But Southern Miss, they're really going to have some momentum. Their fans are going to be behind them. We just got to get it done today.
Yeah, biggest fan base out of the aside from the SEC and I guess FSU, right? Is in terms of like people going to games is Southern Miss. So yeah, it won't be easy, but it'll be fun to watch. So we'll be tuned in. I know you got stuff to do out there, Sebastian. Looking forward to seeing that last out, which is going to be the best last out video you do. This one, as they clinch it today, hopefully on what time's the game start? The second game, 7?
It's supposed to start 7, 6 our time. That the 1 hour is messing me up, man. But depending on how late their game goes, I could see them pushing it back, but we'll see.
So check on Kansas. I will have the up to date game time, depending on how the first one goes, but should be around 7 p.m. So huge opportunity for the Canes. And if they win after you get back from the Hattiesburg clubs, we'll do a reaction time.
Yes, sir. Go Canes, everybody. Take care.
All right, man. See you, Sebastian. All right, man. So there you have it. Canes baseball. You know where to see all your Canes baseball coverage. Shout out to Jim Salas, Al Astorita, and Cox, number one security lawyer in Miami. Huge Canes Insight fan, Canes baseball fan, and big supporter of Canes Insight. Always shout him out when we are talking baseball. You know, with these players, we talk Tristan Keys, all these star players. If you want to get guys like this, I know I've said it before, but it really bears mentioning. CanesConnection.com/CIS. We got special offers for Canes Insight readers. You'll get all the exclusive information on private Zooms, other perks. But there you go. There's all the different levels. Any one of these levels will get you inside the velvet rope as a true insider, because you're not just a fan. You are a part of what is happening. You're part of the reason we might get some of these 5-star players here this weekend and close the deal. You're part of the reason why baseball turned around, part of the reason why basketball is getting some big-time players. You're part of the solution with Canes Connection. You're not building buildings for the social sciences. you are contributing to recruiting class. Not that there's not a benefit to that, but yeah, let's spend the money on football, baseball, and basketball, and do what we really want to do. And that's what CanesConnection.com/CIS gives you the chance to do. All right, guys. So get your questions in. We got some time here while we roll through. Again, very positive initial returns. I'll do a full bank later on, but I do think just with Tristan Keys in particular, there seems to be a lot of momentum from just my personal conversations with people around there, observations. I'll get you the full scoop on that, but starting to feel, like I said, with kind of like Jackson Cantwell not that long ago. That is the impression I get. Of course, basketball, we talked about that. Pete's been covering that better than anybody. Trenton Breeze, our whole team. The Hurricane basketball team will host 9 ACC games this season, including North Carolina, FSU, and Louisville. Get your season tickets now at MiamiHurricanes.com/MBB tickets. That's MiamiHurricanes.com/MBB tickets. And as always, if you want to get your Canes gear, Father's Day, right? If you want to get your dad something, if you got any dads, any grandfathers, anybody that wants some Miami Hurricane gear, 20% off Father's Day collection. Give dad the gift of Miami. Also, if you want to get something in that collection, use promo code INSIGHT20, get 20% off your first item. Maybe you get your first item with the INSIGHT 20% off, and then use the Father's Day deal as well for Father's Day product. Make sure you use that promo code INSIGHT20. You can do it in person. Just say Canes Insight. They'll set you up. Or you can use promo code INSIGHT20 on MiamiHTS.com. Questions here. Arab's asking, isn't Miami U Health helping Miami Athletics? It is. But listen, these are big-time recruitments. You need all hands on deck, and that's what Canes Connection does to you. Trevon, welcome. What about Jabari Brady, wide receiver? I believe he's at Chaminade now. He's at Monarch, then he's at Chaminade. I think he's still a Chaminade. Are we not interested, or is the opposite? He's not into us. I think there's other people right now that are more of the focus. I've seen Jabari Brady in person, tall as can be, has some speed, was very much an early bloomer, but I think there's some issues as far as he hasn't developed in certain ways. I don't know if the physicality translates. I don't know if the short area quickness necessarily translates right now. He's not somebody who's going up and going over guys, but that doesn't mean this is what he is. He's still got a chance to develop into a really good player. But I'd say right now, Jason Lopez from Chaminade was really the star of that team. He's my favorite receiver probably down here. Basketball stud, really productive. Kind of checks all the boxes that way. Usually guys that are productive, guys that are great basketball players, guys that can get open and separate quickly, guys that have catch toughness and ability to hold on to the ball while taking contact, play strength. Those things typically translate out wide receiver, hard work ethic, the crazy work ethic to work when people are watching. All those things to me translate to wide receiver more than anything else. And Jason Lopez has those. So that to me is the top guy down here, quite frankly. And certainly the top guy in Chaminade. So we'll see with Jabari Brady. I don't see him being a Kane. What I'm seeing more is is Jason Lopez from that school, right? And then of course, Tristen Keys, some of the other names we mentioned here. Van Spafford's still a big target. Messiah Hampton. AU Kane saying, give us the good news, Danny. No banana in the tailpipe. Look, we don't know how these things turn out. AU Kane, old school, grassy guy. He's been around the block. He's older than me. Better shape than me, but older than me. So he's seen even more of these things. Here's the thing with Keys. We just got the whole banana tailpipe thing, which if you guys don't remember the old reference, the Eddie Murphy movie, basically it's like falling for the stupidest trick in the book when some 5-star recruit from the South or something trolls you just to get more money or something from his current school, and then he breaks your heart at the end. This happened to Miami many, many times over the years, but I think with Mario, yeah, sometimes you finish second because you're battling for big time recruiting, but these are battles that Miami has won a lot. I mean, Hayden Lowe's from Southern California, 5-star. I mean, Maui Noah is a Samoan. We never got Samoans before he did. I would say those were all kind of banana in the tailpipe recruitments. And then Miami ultimately got him done. So in this case, you're talking about with Keys, just to use one example, you say, oh, he's committed to LSU. They have Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry. They've had the best receivers in the country, probably better than Ohio State, the last 15 years. So why we get excited about a guy like that? He's going to go there. That's the classic move. He's from Mississippi, goes to LSU. He's the number one receiver. I don't think LSU is like that anymore these days. They have their own problems with Brian Kelly. I think they've lost a little luster. But beyond that, Miami, when they sell him, Miami could never sell, we had the number one offense. Now they can. And that is his message that he has told people that he's talked to, that I have heard from his camp, is he says, man, Miami had the number one offense in the country. I'm the number one receiver in the country. That seems to make some sense. So that selling point is a new thing for Miami that they've not had in the past. And the other thing with Keys is the fact that he just has that Miami personality. We talked about it earlier. Couple that with Adidas, both sides are going to have NIL. I could see this one going Miami's way. I'm not ready to say it's going Miami's way. This is a whole process. It's like with Jackson Cantwell. There's a lot going on, but this one doesn't make me nervous as far as like, oh, is he trolling us? I don't think he's trolling us. I think this is just big time recruiting, and Miami's going to have to take their shot, and it's going to be a process, but there's a long way to go in the process. Miami's going to keep working it. But yeah, I think this weekend was very, very good. And I think Miami has a very realistic shot there. What other 5-stars? Lamar Brown. I didn't get to talk to him. I'll get more of a report on that after I really debrief with folks. But the guys that really, to me, if you ask me, like the guys I feel very, very good about this weekend, Keys, Anthony Jones, I think we probably closer to 50-50 than people think. Derek Cooper, I like that one. I think probably Derek Cooper I feel the best about overall. Let's see. Stansel, for sure. He has other business going on, but he seemed like a big-time Miami guy. I mentioned Wingo, Florida, Miami. Brody Jennings, I think, is definitely one of the guys that could land here. That would be, Zachary Turner we'll see after SMU. Daniel Norman, we mentioned him as like more of a developmental guy. DeAnthony Lafayette. That's another one I talked to, DeAnthony Lafayette. I spoke with him. That feels like Oklahoma to me, although Miami made a move. That one feels like Oklahoma to me. So as far as this weekend, Stansel, Keys. I didn't get to talk to Samari Matthews. I'm very curious to see what's going on there because Miami has him super high on their board. But Stansel, Keys, Brody Jennings, Norman potentially, Zachary Turner if we survive the SMU visit, and then Anthony Jones. That's one that I just think that one's sneaky to me. That one's a sneaky one to me, and the fact that he kind of goes dark at times, I view as a positive for Miami because he strikes me as a guy that there's internal pressure, but his cousin's Bobby Pruitt, who hosted him. I'll find out more on Anthony Jones, Tank Jones, the defensive end, 5-star from Mobile, but I could see That one to me, I think is more of a shot than Lamar Brown. If I just had to guess, but we'll find out there. Jonathan Crumbly asking about the defensive tackle from Little Rock, Anthony Kennedy. He left before I was able to talk to him, but we'll see. We'll see how that visit goes. Miami's learning a lot about him. He's someone that never visited unofficially, so Miami was really learning about him in the summer. Malik Morris, I know Gabby reported he doesn't expect him to land in Miami. I agree. I don't see that one happening. Chauncey Kennan, Gabby said he didn't feel a lot of confidence. I spoke to Kennan. I didn't get a ton of confidence there either, leaving that one. I'm looking at Gabby's comments. He was right next to me, so I'm curious to see if he had the same impressions as I did talking to some of these guys. Yeah, it seems like he did. But yeah, those would be the names I watch. Just Keys is the big name, but Anthony Jones, I could see that one. And then Cooper is probably the biggest prize as far as being a South Florida elite player. And I think Miami is really doing the right things to get in that direction. AU Kane says it's all about avoiding red meat and alcohol. The older I get, the less I do these things. You're looking great, buddy. No pause. My friend, now I feel good about my decisions. I was trying to be like you. That was the biggest key for me, man. The no red meat and alcohol, unless they want to sponsor the show, in which case I'll be posing with the red meat and alcohol all day. But yeah, I think that's the name of the game. Got plenty of red meat though, or some of these defensive linemen, man. Those are some big boys. What about the Pensacola defensive end? Not sure exactly which one. Defensive ends that I know we're after. Daniel Norman is someone from St. Thomas, more of a developmental guy. I talked to the kid and I liked what I saw, like how he looked. He looked pretty lean and tall and good size. I think one thing that people don't understand about these visits, and I didn't really appreciate until doing this a little while, is like you could see a kid's height, weight, and you can watch his film, but until you see them in person, you really don't know what they actually look like. I mean, not what the face, like what their frame looks like. It's not all created equal. And a lot of times, if some kid hadn't visited unofficially before, or there hadn't been an in-person visit before, you'll see a kid that you love on film for the first time, and you'll be like, no. Or like, wow, we got to get this guy. I think they knew about how he was because he's a local kid, so they had seen him before, but I had not seen him before. But seeing Daniel Norman, the defensive end from St. Thomas, I like what I see. I think he could be pretty good. He needs some work to develop. But I was with my man Azubi Charles, who is at Kane Sport. He was showing me some film from St. Thomas practice that he filmed. I thought he looked good. So I like Daniel Norman. It's just not like a guy that's ready to play right away, I don't think. He's more a developmental guy. But yeah, that's one. Brody Jennings for sure. I think if I had a bet, I think that's going to be a Kane when it's all said and done. And I think that'd be a very happy situation for Miami if he chooses the Canes because they love him. Obviously praying for his family. What a nightmare situation there with his father passing away suddenly. Zechariah Turner and Messiah Hampton. I posted this in the bank before the weekend. I think it's the same thing. We'll have to watch the local schools there because you can see the local schools going all out, but Miami's done the part that they need to on their end. And yeah, man, that's Keyshawn Stansel. I think he's got a real chance to be a Miami Hurricane as a defensive tackle, 4-star, and you need as many of those guys as you can get. LeBrent Alston, Lamar Brown, defensive tackle, 5-star, tweeting in the middle of his visit. People keep sleeping on me in UM recruitment. Just watch. Yeah, I saw that, and that was obviously pretty optimistic. I want to talk to the coaches about how they feel. Texas A&M is really in this one strong. LSU's in it as well. He's from Baton Rouge. I say we were running third going into the weekend, but we probably made a move. And look, it's one of those things. Look, maybe it just means you get more money from the school they're at, but you can't get players like this if you don't try to get players like this. I think Miami had a great weekend with him, and we'll see how the whole thing unfolds. But yeah, I think if I had to guess of those guys, Keyshawn Stansel for sure, and then Anthony Jones, who's an edge more so than Lamar Brown, but similar rated prospect from the Deep South. Those are guys that I think Miami might have a better shot at. Appreciate you, Johnny Green. Yeah, like and subscribe to this show. Like, share, and subscribe. LSS. And we got to get a name for the chat, man. We have the craziest, most active chat in the Canes world, and we don't have a name for you guys, so we've got to work on those. We got the chasers, we got the villains. We need our own name. Richard says Mario doesn't sleep, man. He was bouncing off the walls this morning. That guy's energy level is insane. I know he jokes about the coffee, but I just think the guy loves football. It's all he wants to talk about. I know people have hung out with him outside of football, and they said he some guys, when they get away from football, they do not want to talk about football. They're like, I just want to talk about golf or fishing or whatever. I heard Cristobal, man, and my experience with him outside of the building, which is not as much, but he wants to talk about football, man. The only topic I've ever heard him opine on besides football is 1970s, early 80s wrestling from Championship Wrestling of Florida, Gordon Soley, and the Florida territory. He'll talk about that all day. Trevin, welcome. Are you ever going to get a top quarterback with the great old line we'll have year after year? Well, listen, man, we had the number one quarterback in the planet last year, so you can't get more number one than that. You hope Carson Beck can do it this year, and I understand what you're saying about the recruiting side of it, but I just want the quarterback that lines up under center to be a really good one, and Miami's done that through the portal. Maybe that'll stop with Coleman and nickel. My personal opinion is I love the portal for quarterbacks. I love experience. That's a position with a lot of variability out of high school. If you build it, they will come, meaning if you have a great offensive line and great receivers, the best veterans will come to you, especially if Carson Beck goes first round this year after Cam Ward was number one overall. You'll have a line of portal quarterbacks coming, and you'll know what you're going to get when you're spending all that money. So I am very much pro portal quarterback, but Darren Coleman, we'll see. He's at Elite 11. We'll see how he performs. Luke Nickel, I liked what I saw from him in spring. Jonathan Crumbly asking how many commits were on campus. Let's see. I mean, Cam Deportis was on campus. That's the one that jumps out to me. I think he's the only commit that was on campus this particular weekend, unless somebody just came down to hang out. So, yeah, as far as visit, it was just Camden Portis. And we'll get these other guys here shortly from the currently number 9 overall ranked class in the country that's going to be moving up the charts. All right, guys, any last questions? Get them in here. Otherwise, we'll go watch some college baseball and enjoy. LeBron Allison saying Darren Coleman vastly underrated. Yeah, I think very talented. I think he's going to do a great job at Elite 11. That's a very good setting for him. But he's also been very productive in pads. It's just the size with him, I think, is giving people pause. The best case scenario you're talking about at Bryce Young. That doesn't mean he's going to be Bryce Young, the Heisman Trophy winner, first overall pick. But he's in that mold as far as football only, not a multi-sport kid like Kyler Murray, who was a top 10 baseball pick as well, despite being small. Bryce Young, football only, good eyes for the position, as Coleman does. He can see the field, big hands, long arms, which helps protect against some of his size deficiencies. Slight, not a big guy. He's not like a big stout guy, like Baker Mayfield's pretty stout, also a multi-sport guy. So I think when you compare him to the short quarterbacks in the best case scenario, doesn't mean they all turn out this way, obviously. I think Bryce Young would be like that best case. Rockstyle Monster saying Mario got the Gucci loafers on this weekend, my boy. Yeah, listen, he's been in a good mood. I keep saying that, man. There's a lot of confidence coming off Mario. I don't sense like that nervous energy. He's always a machine. So that's never stops. But man, I think the Jackson Campbell stuff, I think the fact that he was shaking, seeing Cam Ward go number 1 in the draft, seeing how his team looks in pads, or at least in workouts, I should say. Now, I think you got to feel good about where things are heading, but you got to get it going, man. You got to win the ACC, and he knows that. Appreciate you, Rock Style. Yeah, like, share, and subscribe. Throw the U's up. LeBrent, last thing. I love when you and Pete mix it up. Bring more of the energy, bro. Not always debating, but that was a great show about the D-line. I appreciate that. We got more feedback on that show than any show we've ever done. And it's funny, I get people saying like, oh man, we love it. And some people are saying like, well, don't be like an ESPN style debate show where you're just kind of picking topics and debating. The truth is Pete really is more like that than he is like just going along with everything. So that's really more of how he actually is. So I just told him, hey man, listen, don't force it, but when you feel it, bring it out. Cause people like that stuff. And we give the people what they want, man. I'm happy to do it. I argue all day anyways. So yeah, it's a long off season. You guys make it real easy. It's funny. Our show's now getting better ratings and more action than at any point during the season when we were the talk of college football. People just love the offseason, man. It's incredible what the portal's done, what recruiting has done. And shout out to Mario, man, for making this fun again. Usually we'd be crying around this time about guys going elsewhere. Vaughn, have we offered that 28 Northwestern quarterback? Will he be the best from down there ever? Someone Neiman Lawrence, formerly at Ransom, has since transferred to Northwestern. I think he goes to school somewhere else and then just plays football for Northwestern. But Neiman Lawrence, incredibly high academic kid, tall, but still young. So you don't know how he's going to grow into his body, but really good film as a freshman at Ransom, which is not, a powerhouse. He's going to have Calvin Russell and some other guys here. Nick Lanier, who's a really, really talented receiver for 27. like Malachi Tony comps as far as just like his demeanor and his instincts. I think he's a little bigger than Malachi. So that's going to be a powerhouse team, powerhouse offense. And yeah, Neiman Lawrence has been offered by Miami. He was offered, I think we were his first offer. We've been on him. He's in 28, and he's the guy we want in 28. There's been rumors that he would reclass to 27. Now, Miami doesn't get involved in that because, if you're the college and you're telling high school kids, hey, skip a year of high school, go to Miami. If I'm the high school coach, I'm saying, screw you. You're taking my players early. So Miami doesn't really get into like trying to get kids reclassifying and stuff like that. It's going to be more about what the kid wants to do. I'm sure his grades are good enough because he's ridiculously smart kid. He's like high end IQ. So we'll see. If he goes to 2027, I think he'll be our top quarterback target next year. Carrie C just logged on, fellas. What's happening with the recruits that are on campus this weekend? Great vibes. Everybody happy. I think major moves. Like I said, names that just to me have some juice right now. Tristen Keys, Brody Jennings, Anthony Jones, Keyshawn Stansel. Those are some names that just get me excited, but I'll find out more about some of the other guys. Storming back to you says kids want to reclassify for money purposes before rules change. Yeah, to get in some of that NIL money. I get it. I get why they do it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We've seen quarterbacks reclass and never really get back their juice. We've seen defensive linemen reclass too early. We've seen some guys reclass and it works. I mean, look at Ryan Williams last year reclassed and was the best receiver in the country, not named Jeremiah Smith. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Neiman Lawrence. Christopher Santino saying Miami's offense will be championship caliber again. By the way, go Pacers. Sorry. And the defense should be better. Beck will pick apart ACC defenses and lead Miami to Charlotte and move into the playoffs. I think Beck's performance against ACC defenses gives you a lot of encouragement. He completely destroyed them. Clemson, Georgia Tech, FSU. I mean, you look at the stats against ACC and it was target practice. I don't think, aside from like the Brock Bowers and Landon McConkey year, and those guys were hurt a little bit, so we didn't always have those guys. I think Miami's talent on offense is very, very comparable to Georgia. Very comparable, if not better, offensive line. Very comparable, if not better, running backs. Very comparable, if not better, wide receivers. Again, once you take McConkey and Browers out of the equation, because they were only there for 1 year and really only half of 1 year for a couple of them, I think very, very comparable offense for Miami around Beck. And Beck, with that level of talent around him, completely destroyed the ACC. So that gives you appreciation for what he can do in the ACC, and the fact that he is so experienced, I think, is the biggest thing with quarterbacks these days. When they got the answer to the test in college, when they're a fourth, fifth year guy with a ton of starts, they're pretty hard to beat, especially when they got an offensive line that gives them time to find their weapons. So I'm optimistic on Beck because of that reason, the experience factor. LeBrent Alston. I love this comparison. He says, Beck is not better than Cam, but his season might be better. I'm feeling those Jim Kelly to Kozar vibes, even though Kelly was the better talent. Kozar won the championship. I love the comparison. I've been keeping it in my back pocket, but you said it. So I appreciate that comp. I couldn't agree more. Vaughn, appreciate you. Hey, listen, appreciate you, man, and all your support in the comments. You guys make this thing run, especially when I have nothing to talk about and you guys get me going. So appreciate everybody in the comments, especially the guys that are there consistently. Even the new guys, welcome, man. Appreciate you guys. Keep supporting. Richard, appreciate you. Moa, all these guys, keep on supporting. We appreciate you. We want to give, if you have comments or questions or just, hey, we want more of this, let us know. This is your show, man. So appreciate you guys. Almost 1,800 on here. Remember, like, share, and subscribe to the show. Let's get this thing rolling. This is going to be a machine by the time we get to the season and to Notre Dame. A couple ones before we get going. LeBrent Allen saying, I'm sick of NIL. It's the only reason we're getting, or I'm so sick of people saying that NIL is the only reason we're getting players. Texas Tech is dropping big bags in Lubbock, and they got money like Texas as well. SMU, but it's always only us getting guys because of money. Yeah, as if Mario never got players before Miami. I mean, Mario came in as one of the best recruiters in the country. That's why, one of the reasons why he paid him so much. Everybody knew it. It was in every single story you ever read about Mario Cristobal before any Miami NIL stuff came up. Miami is a better city than most of the cities, in my opinion, all of the cities we recruit against, which is why property in Miami costs more than pretty much every city we recruit against, every team we recruit against. So these are objective things of why people would want to come to Miami. Miami's tuition is extremely expensive because people want to live here and go to school here and enjoy that vibe on campus. So this is just objective stuff. It's not necessarily anything to do with the money that's being paid. But yeah, on top of that, Canes Connection is the best NIL collective in the country. CanesConnection.com/CIS. Sign up if you want to be part of the solution. All right, man. College baseball time. Watch out for our Canes. It's going to be a hell of a night, I hope. And we'll be celebrating tomorrow morning. We'll be on tomorrow, like always, every single day, bringing it to you live on CanesInSight. Appreciate everybody that joined us. Almost 2,000 on live. Like, share, and subscribe. Go Canes.